What is Qatar crisis? We heard that there are some issues between Qatar and other Arab countries, but what are those issues? Basically, Arab countries accusing Qatar for maintaining good relationship with Iran, and Qatar supports the Muslim Brotherhood and supporting terrorist organizations. Plus, Arab government says Qatar interferes in their country's internal affairs, and this is the basic issue they have between them. But such issues and acquisitions been made by many countries to their neighboring countries. But then why this Qatar issue got so serious? Hi friends, you're watching Mindscape and let's simplify the Qatar issue. Qatar and Iran share ownership of North Dome gas condensate field, by far the world's largest natural gas field with a significant geostrategic influence. In April 2017, after a 12-year freeze, Qatar lifted a self-imposed ban on developing the gas field with Iran, which would require cooperation between the two countries. This gas tie prompted Qatar to promote a regional policy of engagement with Shia Iran to secure the source of its wealth. Since he took power in 1995, Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani believed Qatar could find security only by transforming itself from a Saudi appendage to a rival of Saudi Arabia. Qatar invests billions of dollars in United States and Europe and then recycles the profit to support Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood and group linked to Al-Qaeda. Qatar hosts the American military base from which the US directs its regional war against extremism, yet it also owns a media network responsible for inciting many of the same extremists. Qatar has hosted officials from Afghan, Taliban, and Hamas. Qatar defends this move by saying it is trying to act as an intermediary in a regional conflict. For example, Qatar hosted talks between the Taliban and the Afghan government in 2016. On 27 May 2017, the newly re-elected Iranian president held a phone call with the Qatar's Amir. He told the countries of the region need more cooperation and consultation to resolve the crisis in the region, and we are ready to cooperate in this field. In 2002, Saudi Arabia removed their ambassador from Qatar over Al Jazeera's alleged critical stance towards Saudi Arabia. Diplomatic relationships were re-established in 2008 after assurance that Al Jazeera would limit its coverage of Saudi Arabia. In March 2014, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates removed their ambassadors from Qatar, citing interference with their internal affairs. In February 2015, Egypt-Qatar relations worsened after the Egyptian Air Force conducted airstrikes on the suspected ISIL positions in the neighboring Libya. The airstrikes were condemned by Al Jazeera, who broadcast images of civilian casualties. Egyptian citizens also launched an online campaign denouncing the Qatari government. The exact reason for the diplomatic breakups are unclear, but contemporary news coverage primarily attributes this to several events in April and May 2017. In April 2017, Qatar was involved in a deal with both Sunni and Shia militants in Iraq and Syria. The deal had two goals. The immediate goal was to secure the return of 26 Qatari hostages, including Qatari royals, who had been kidnapped by Shia militants. The second goal was to get both Sunni and Shia militants in Syria to allow humanitarian aid to pass through, as well to allow the safe evacuation of civilians. What outraged Saudi Arabia and UAE is the amount of money Qatar had to pay to secure the deal. According to the Financial Times, Qatar paid $700 million to Iranian-backed Shia militants in Iraq and 120 to 140 million dollars to Tahrir al-Sham and 80 million dollars to Ahrar al-Sham. As a part of the Riyadh summit in late May 2017, many world leaders including US President Donald Trump visited the region. Trump gave strong support for Saudi Arabia's efforts in fighting against states and groups allied with Iran and the Muslim Brotherhood, leading to an arms deal between the countries. Trump's support may have induced other Sunni states to fall in line with Saudi Arabia to take stance against Qatar. The Qatar News Agency website and other government media platforms were allegedly hacked in May 2017. Hackers posted fake remarks on the official Qatar News Agency attributed to the Emir of Qatar that expressed support for Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Israel. The remarks were widely publicized in the various Arab news. On 3rd June 2017, the Twitter account of Bahraini Foreign Minister Khalid bin Ahmed Al Khalifa was hacked. US security agencies blamed Russia for this hack, but later other agencies and media reported that Russia was not involved in the hacks. FBI later went for investigation in Qatar and found that the hacks was part of a cyber war between Qatar and Saudi countries. As the UAE media picked the news in less than 20 minutes of hacks and started interviewing with well-prepared experts against Qatar. Al Jazeera in May 2017 published a news about email hack of UAE's ambassador and showed the email which he had written to United States. This specific email were showing relationship between UAE and pro-Israeli groups. And as the Al Jazeera media is founded by Qatar, UAE blamed Qatar for the hack and its coverage in media. After this incident between 5 and 6 June 2017, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Yemen, Egypt, the Maldives, and the Bahrainis all separately announced that they were cutting diplomatic ties with Qatar. Saudi Arabia and the UAE notified ports and shipping agents not to receive Qatari vessels or ships owned by Qatari companies or individuals. Saudi Arabia closed the border with Qatar. Iran offered to send food shipment to Qatar. Saudi Arabia restricted its airspace to Qatar Airways. Qatar has rerouted flights to Africa and Europe via Iran. Saudi Arabia's central bank advised banks not to trade with Qatari banks. Qatar verbally criticized the ban. All GCC countries involved in the announcement ordered their citizens to get out of Qatar. The foreign ministers of Bahrain and Egypt gave Qatari diplomats 48 hours to leave their countries. Kuwait and Oman remained neutral. As of 10th June 2017, 8 sovereign governments have cut diplomatic ties with Qatar, which includes Bahrain, Egypt, Maldives, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Yemen. As of 12th June 2017, 6 countries have downgraded diplomatic ties with Qatar without fully cutting relations. Multiple countries like India, Indonesia, Russia, UK, and the United Nations called for the resolution of the diplomatic crisis through dialogue. Germany's foreign ministers expressed support for Qatar and criticized the severing of the ties. He accused US President Donald Trump for stirring up the conflict in the Middle East. India said that it viewed the crisis as an internal matter of the Gulf Cooperation Council and was primarily concerned with the Indian citizens in the region. Indonesia foreign minister said The diplomatic disconnection by Arab countries against Qatar is very influential on Indonesia. Reports said that Mauritius had cut ties with Qatar were refuted by Mauritius government. Pakistan stated that it had no plans to cut diplomatic relations with Qatar. The Philippines suspended the deployment of migrant workers to Qatar on 6th June, which lifted on 15th June. So what is the impact of this? Nearly 80% of Qatar's food requirement come from Gulf Arab neighbors, with only 1% being produced domestically, and even imports from outside the Gulf states usually crossing the now closed land borders with Saudi Arabia. On 11th June 2017, Iran sent 4 cargo planes with the fruit and vegetables and promised to continue the supply. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates are banning all flights by aircraft registered in Qatar. Instead, Qatar has rerouted flights to Africa and Europe via Iran. All private or business and commercial flights between Qatar and the countries who cut their diplomatic ties with Qatar have been prohibited to enter in each other's country. Pakistan International Airlines sends special flights to bring back over 200 Pakistani pilgrims stuck at Doha Airport. The travel embargo has had a significant impact on foreign nationals living and working in Qatar, with about 100,000 Egyptians and citizens from other countries stranded there, unable to book direct flights or obtain travel documents from their return. UAE, Bahrain, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia banned Qatar-flagged ships from their ports, as all neighboring ports were shut down for Qatar on June 8, 2017. Big shipping companies were unable to transport in or out of Qatar due to the Qatar's shallow ports, as large ships cannot enter or move on the port. June 12, 2017, Chinese shipping company COSCO announced suspension of services to Qatar. On 7th June 2017, both UAE and Bahrain government announced that publishing expressions of sympathy towards Qatar through social media or any type of written or verbal form is considered as illegal and will have to face 3 to 15 years of imprisonment and fine of more than $100,000. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Bahrain, UAE all blocked access to Qatar news agency, including the most popular Al Jazeera, which is the Qatar-based. Financial effect of this, Qatar stock market dropped by 7.3% on the first day of the crisis, and it reached to 9.7% by 8th June. This entire crisis will some or other way going to harm humanity, and the peace in the region is going to get destroyed, as no country going to take their step back. All of them is going to hurt each other without a doubt. Hope this crisis get resolved as early as it can and with less harm to humanity. Hope you like this video. Thanks for watching.